Think about it like this. If you wanted to break into a building, you wouldn't just start kicking down doors, right? No, you'd want the blueprint. You'd want to know every door, every window, every possible way in. Well, in the digital world, network scanning is how you get that blueprint. It's how attackers map out your entire network before they even think about making a move. And today, we're going to open up that playbook and see exactly how it's done. So here's our game plan. We're going to walk through the exact steps an attacker would. First, we'll get a handle on what network scanning even is. Then, we'll see how they find active targets and start poking around for weaknesses. We'll even get into the sneaky, advanced stuff they use to slip past firewalls. And then, once we know how they get in, we're going to flip the whole thing around and talk about how you build a fortress to keep them out. All right, first things first. What exactly is network scanning? Well, you can just think of it as digital reconnaissance. It's the absolute first move in any serious attack. It's step one. At its heart, network scanning is all about identifying what's actually on a network. The computers, the servers, and all the services they're running. But here's the most important thing to get. This is a double-edged sword. It's the go-to tool for an attacker trying to find a way in, but it is also the essential tool for a defender who needs to know what they're protecting. The whole process is super methodical, almost like a detective building a case. First, you find out which machines are actually online, the live hosts. Then, for each of those, you check for open doors and windows, which we call ports. From there, you figure out exactly what software is running. And finally, you take that info and check it against known vulnerabilities. Each step just builds on the last, turning a random target into a clear, actionable plan of attack. So how does an attacker actually get started? The very first thing they have to do is separate the signal from the noise. They have to find the handful of active machines in a huge ocean of possible IP addresses. And as you can see here, there's not just one way to do this. You've got a whole toolkit of options. If you're on the same local network, you might use something called an ARP scan. If you're scanning over the internet, you'll probably send out different kinds of digital pings using protocols like ICMP, TCP, or UDP. Which one you use really just depends on what kind of network you're up against. And picking the right tool is totally strategic. If you're already on the inside, an ARP scan is going to be your fastest and most reliable bet. But what if you think there's a firewall in the way? A UDP ping might just be the thing that slips right through. And the good old ICMP echo ping? Well, that's your classic all-around tool for just asking the simple question, hey, are you there? Okay, so we've got our list of live targets. We know which machines are online. Now the fun begins. The next step is to go to each one and start rattling all the doorknobs and checking all the windows to see what's unlocked. This is port scanning. Just think of it like this. A computer's IP address is its street address. Well, the ports are all the numbered doors on that building. Port 80 is usually the front door for web traffic. Port 22 might be for remote access. You get the idea. Finding an open port is a great start, but the real prize is figuring out exactly what service is listening on the other side of that door. Now, how you knock on those doors makes a huge difference. The most straightforward way is the TCP Connect scan. It completes a full three-way handshake. It's basically like knocking, waiting for them to open up and say hi, and then you say hi back. It works, but it's super obvious. The smarter move is the SYN stealth scan. That's more like knocking on the door and then running away the second you hear footsteps. You never actually complete the handshake, which makes it way faster and a whole lot harder to detect. And the difference in the real world is just staggering. Look at this. On the left, the full, noisy Connect scan took almost 45 seconds. That is plenty of time for a security system to catch you and shut you down. But now look at the right. The stealth scan found the exact same information in just over 1 second. We're not just talking about speed here. We're talking about the difference between getting caught and getting away clean. But hey, knowing a port is open isn't enough. You need to know what's running behind it. And that's where this gets really interesting. Check out the detail here. We don't just see the port 80 is open, we see it's running Microsoft IIS HTTPD version 10.0. That one little piece of information is the absolute jackpot, because now an attacker can go look for an exploit that targets that exact piece of software. This is the moment a scan turns into a real attack plan. And the last piece of this intelligence puzzle is the operating system itself. By looking at tiny little details in how a computer responds to network traffic, a scanner can make a really good guess at what OS it's running. In this case, Nmap is pretty confident the target is Microsoft Windows 10. Now an attacker knows to only focus on exploits that are designed to work on Windows. Now, you're probably thinking, okay, but wouldn't a basic firewall just block all of this? And you'd be right. A simple scan is easy to stop. That's why the real cat and mouse game starts when attackers pull out the advanced techniques to hide what they're doing and just disappear. One of the oldest tricks in the book is called proxy chaining. Instead of scanning you directly, the attacker bounces their traffic through a whole series of other computers all over the world. At each hop, their original IP address gets stripped off and replaced. By the time the scan actually hits your network, it's been laundered through half a dozen countries, making it almost impossible to trace back to where it started. Here's another really clever one: packet fragmentation. See, firewalls are often looking for the telltale signs of a scan. So an attacker can use a command that chops their scan up into tiny little pieces. The firewall might look at each tiny piece and think it's harmless, but when those fragments get to the target machine, it puts them all back together and the scan works perfectly. It's like sneaking something past a guard by taking it apart first. And that's just scratching the surface. An attacker's toolkit is packed with ways to stay hidden. They can spoof their IP address to make it look like the scan is coming from somewhere else entirely. They can make their traffic look like normal web browsing. They can even route their scans through anonymizing networks like Tor. The goal is always the same: become a ghost on the network, fly completely under the radar. Okay, we've spent a lot of time thinking like the bad guys, so now it's time to flip the script. Because the only reason to learn the playbook is so you can write a better defense. Let's talk about how you actually protect a network from everything we've just discussed. This is really the whole point, isn't it? Knowing how they get in is one thing, but how do you stop them? What are the actual steps you can take? Well, the foundation of any good defense is a properly configured firewall and an intrusion detection system. You keep them updated and you'll lock down every single port that you don't absolutely need open. But you want to know the most important defense? It's turning these exact same tools on yourself. You have to scan your own network constantly to see what an attacker would see. Find your own weaknesses before they do. And to stop things like spoofing, you need layers of defense. Encryption helps a lot, but the real power moves are ingress and egress filtering. Think of ingress filtering as a bouncer at your network store, checking IDs. It blocks any traffic from the outside that's pretending to be from the inside. And egress filtering does the opposite, making sure nothing shady is leaving your network with a fake ID. And at the end of the day, it all comes back to this one single idea. These tools aren't just for attackers. They are absolutely essential for defenders. You have to be proactive. You have to map your own network, find your own open ports, and discover your own vulnerabilities. That is the best, most effective defense there is. So, I'll just leave you with this final thought. Right now, as you're watching this, automated bots are scanning every corner of the internet, and that includes your networks. The question isn't if you're being scanned. The question is, what do they see when they look at you? Knowing the answer to that is what cybersecurity is all about.